Hi world, I'm Michelle and welcome back to my channel. If you haven't done so already, do please subscribe. It helps me out tremendously and it is a sign of you supporting my channel. Right, so let's get straight to it. Today we're going to talk about how to get a job abroad as an expat. Okay, so to give you a heads up, me. I'm going to break this video up into 3 parts. The first will be organization and credentials, then we'll move on to where to even look for this job, and then I'll finalize with expectations and some tips. Okay, so let's go straight into it with organization and credentials. So my first bit here is to all of those people who maybe are in their gap year or don't have a college degree and maybe don't plan to go to college or do plan to go to college, but you haven't done so yet. Do not feel like that disqualifies you at all from getting a job abroad. I have lots of friends that have not attended college that are in very, very well-paying jobs. They're super happy, or they're freelancers, you name it. There's a whole smorgasbord of options out there for you. So the other thing that I will say is many of the jobs that you'll see posted for native English speakers or for expats in other countries are actually going to be English teaching positions. Now, this is so normal. I think that this is where a lot of people start seeing lots of different opportunities, be it at schools or at different companies even for a stand-in teacher. And that can be a wonderful way to get your foot in the door in terms of a job abroad. But what I would recommend is that you get some type of English teaching certificate so that you can put yourself really out there and say, hey, I have experience and I have a certificate, not just necessarily, I want to teach English because I speak English. That can really help you out. Now with some traditional organization and credentials that you will absolutely need no matter what background you're coming from. You really will need a beautifully written and formatted curriculum or resume, as a lot of people say it. I'd say that you can have this in any type of format, but whichever format you will have it in, it needs to be clean cut. It can't be chaotic with a million different things going on. Some people choose to have their photo in there, other people don't. I personally actually never put my photo in a resume, and I don't think it's ever counted negatively towards me, but whatever style you want to do yours in, just make sure that it looks presentable and fresh. And then to the next biggest piece of that is the cover letter. A cover letter is super important because it tells that company that you're applying for why you think you should be working for them, what you're gonna bring to the table, why it should be you instead of somebody else. Those are super key things for you to be communicating to this company. And once you have that, all you need to do is package it into a beautifully written email, which is essentially a miniature version of your cover letter, and send it off to them. It is very important that you put an address on your resume. Now, if you don't have a permanent address in the new country that you're in where you're looking for a job, I'd say to put, the address of the Airbnb you're staying at, or maybe a temporary apartment that you have, or even a friend or family member's address, because this can really help you display to the company that you're applying for that you are in that country for the long term, that you're not just looking for something in passing. And even if you are, it just gives you that little bit of extra authority almost in a way. To tell them, hey, I'm here. I'm not just here for 2 weeks and then I'm gone. I'm here, I'm looking for a job and I'm serious. And I'll actually be there for the interview. Moving into where to even look for this job as an expat, I'd always recommend starting off with Facebook groups. And that sounds weird, but there are gigantic communities for expats all over Facebook. I think the last time I looked at the one for Buenos Aires in particular, there was upwards of 30,000 people on there. And I have looked for certain positions there in the past. And I've always found, if not an actual position, help, recommendations, and connections, which can be a big tool for you, especially because you will be within that expat community. So wherever you are, don't hesitate to look for expat communities to join and see if people are interchanging ideas on companies that look for foreign workers, and maybe even some local companies that want to include people with native English. I feel like I should say too, to never just discard Craigslist as an option, because a lot of companies actually know that expats will look there, and they do put some listings up that can be super, super valuable and great positions. Of course, when you're on Craigslist, you really do need to filter things out pretty heavily. But if you have an afternoon free and you are looking for a job abroad, I'd say that could be a good place for you to look as well, just in case something catches your eye. Now, speaking to people who might be looking for something a little bit more in the educational field, or as a teacher in terms of English as a second language, you can always look at language schools' bulletin boards and even university bulletin boards. Oftentimes they are looking for people to come in. It could be as a substitute teacher, or it could even actually be as a full-time position or a summer boarding position. And that can be an amazing experience, not only because you'll of course have a job, but also because it connects you with so many different people that are from all walks of life, and it in itself can be a really great immersive job. Now, of course, you can always look on international company websites. I'd say that a good way to do this would actually be to first look on websites like Indeed or other more local versions of that site, specific to different countries. And you can start filtering out based on the career that, you're really looking to set yourself in the direction of, and start looking not only at those listings, but then going onto their websites. And you can kind of spend a whole afternoon researching, looking for similar companies, going onto their careers section and seeing if they're hiring. That one is a little bit more, labor intensive, but if you are looking for a job as an expat, it is going to be a little bit more difficult than it would be, in your home country, just because the resources are new and some of the ways that people go about handling business and taking in applications is a little bit different. Also, never forget that nowadays Instagram is a really big tool for companies. Oftentimes, if you're following a different travel company or maybe even some headhunter type companies, they do have a habit of posting, listings on their feed. I actually usually see this more in their stories. And I know that's a little bit more, of course, 2020, but let's not forget that it is 2020, and that is definitely a resource for you to utilize. Okay, so moving on to the third and final section, expectations. I want to start off by saying that if you are set on finding a full-time position, that can be a little bit difficult for you. So I would always recommend being open to temporary positions and maybe even internships, and of course part-time positions as well. Because oftentimes, even if your biggest dream is to have a full-time position as an expat in a foreign country, you can start off with something that might be a little bit smaller and then start working your way up. And of course, everybody tries super hard in their first 3 months, and of course following that as well. But it's really important for you to show that company why you are such a big asset to them. And oftentimes, if they start you off on part-time and you absolutely smash it in those first 3 months, they'll give you that full-time position. Another thing I want to say to people is do not be hung up on what your major was in college or where your area of expertise is, because companies are very open, in particular small companies. They're not always looking for somebody with 12 plus years of experience for an entry-level position, which can be ridiculous nowadays, some of the things they put on, the application request. And to speak on that a little bit too, I majored and graduated with a degree in international relations and philosophy, which is super broad, so I can appreciate that I would be able to go into a lot of different fields with that. But I work in luxury travel now, which I didn't even know was a career choice when I first started looking for a job as an expat. I always looked for English teaching jobs or kind of assistant type of work. And, now working in the travel industry 6 years in, I have to say to anybody looking for a job as an expat that really anything is possible. All you have to do is start. Oops. All you have to do is apply yourself and start looking and say, you know what, I can do that. I'm qualified. And you'll learn lots of skills along the way. Some companies are even all about giving you different courses and different training sessions, which happened to me over the years. And I now feel like I'm qualified for so much more than I was at the beginning of my journey where I only had a college degree. And please never forget that your cultural value is an asset. You know, if you come from somewhere that is all about, you know, the hard work, the patience, and the dedication, and you're going to take that to a company, they're really going to appreciate that. And so they're not going to care if you didn't get a 2-year degree or you didn't get a 4-year degree, because you'll get the experience and you will learn how to be the best version or the best employee for them. So my last tip to you is to have a sincere talk with yourself about what your expectations are in terms of salary when looking for a job in a new country as an expat. This seems pretty basic, but it can actually be really difficult to mentalize beforehand that, you know, you're not going to be making what you would be making in your home country in a foreign country. At least the majority of time, it is really difficult to secure positions that pay you the equivalent of what you'd make in your home country. And this is absolutely normal. You know, people who live in foreign countries as expats, I think, do go through an adaptation period on, okay, you know, what does it cost to live here? What is the general quality of life? And these are, you know, things you're going to have to discuss with yourself and, of course, with your employer as well. And they'll probably be very well prepared to tell you what the general range of pay is, and all you have to do is know what your worth is, what you need to be making for yourself, but you also need to know, okay, what is the average in this country and how can I adapt myself to prepare for that and feel happy with it and live a good quality life where I can not only be happy now, but also prepare for future happiness and growth. Alrighty guys, that is it for me today. If you have any questions or comments about looking for a job as an expat in a foreign country, please feel free to leave them right here in the comment section below. Also, any feedback you have for me is absolutely welcome. And I want to say, if you did enjoy anything I had to say, please subscribe. It does help me out tremendously, and I hope to keep making these videos for you guys based on what you want to hear from me. So that is it for me today, and I'll see you next time. Meow, meow, meow. No, no, no. Okay, last one. Right. I can't do it if it's staged. I'm sorry. I'm just naturally funny. Right.